Cups and supporters. Gotta be worn at all times.
¿Qué es esto? No sé.
Well, either you wear them, give that one. Either you wear them or you don't play.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We are discussing movies, and Bad News Bears is in the discussion. Bad News Bears was a movie released in 1976 starring Walter Matthau and Tatum O'Neal, and it's popped up on a lot of lists in terms of best baseball movies of all time, best sports movies of all time. Does it hold up? For me, it does, but I'm not sure if people watching it today would accept it as readily as they did in 1976. After all, this is a coach who is drinking beer in the dugout, who might mix a drink or two with the beer. He might curse a couple of times throughout this film at his players. And I guess I would say that it holds up for me because it's a comedy. We have to accept it as it is. And it's a well-done comedy, written by Bill Lancaster, who is Burt Lancaster's son, the late Bill Lancaster, directed by Michael Ritchie, and he does a fantastic job. His casting of these players, as you watch this film, you think, well, the casting director didn't do their job. They're not great-looking kids. They're these shaggy, not strange-looking, but a little shaggy, a little off. Well, these are kids that you feel played with us. You know, I played Little League. I know you did, Jacob, and our other brother. You watch this film and you kind of relate to it. You don't feel like you're watching a Hollywood film per se. And the writing is just, fantastic. There's a lot of jokes, there's a joke in here in the film that my favorite joke, I can't repeat. So there's that. But, at one point, one of the players says, Tanner got into a fight. And then the coach asks, with who? The seventh grade. The whole seventh grade? Yes. And there's these great jokes. There's these characters that are very specific. Tanner's the fighter. Callie's the cool kid, Callie Leak. And I think it's a really well done film. We're going to talk about, how Buttermaker, the coach played by Walter Matthau, how he performs as a coach. But I will say that as a movie, it's funny. But I think what elevates it to the next level is the dramatic element to it. Of course, the relationship between Buttermaker and not his stepdaughter exactly, Amanda Wurlitzer, but maybe his ex-girlfriend's daughter. It's a real tense relationship at times, or a complicated relationship, because he taught her how to pitch, but he doesn't want to spend time with her because he knows what kind of a person he is. He's a drinker. I don't want to give too much away, but I want to say there's a moment in the film where the opposing pitcher, so this is a Little League team, the Bears, Chico Bail Bonds sponsors them. And there's the opposing team, the other team that is vying for first place, the Yankees. The pitcher throws at a Bears player, and his father, who's the coach, berates him and beats him on the mound. And then that Yankees pitcher just sort of sits there, folds his arms, and doesn't play, and watches the Bears cross the plate as he throws the game in a way and walks off. And I feel like that's what elevates the Bad News Bears into great film category, great film territory. I want to talk about Buttermaker right now as a coach, but what is your take, Jake, on the Bad News Bears?
No, I
1976 version, not the remake.
not the remake. I don't think I've seen the remake actually, but this I've seen this several times. I remember seeing it with our father the first time, and it was not. It was 1976. I think we started playing baseball. I know I started playing baseball in like 78. So it's around that same time period, like you mentioned. We all played, you, myself, or Chris. And so looking at it, just even the way the grass, not the grass, but just the way the parents are dressed, and you go, that's how the parents dressed when we were kids. And so, mothers and kind of short dresses or short um, halter tops, right? And so you have this feel of the 1970s. And you started mentioning some of the characters. Jackie Earl Haley plays Callie, small little guy, but definitely comes into the team. This is definitely a team that needs help. And so you mentioned Tatum O'Neal. I think you mentioned Tatum O'Neal, this young lady who is not the stepdaughter, but daughter of a girlfriend of Walter Matthau's. And so she becomes the star pitcher. So they have a couple elements that come into the team because they need help because these guys can hardly catch a ball. And they're the laughing stock. You mentioned about one of the kids getting beat up by the seventh grade. So everyone knows this team. Everyone laughs at them. And so it's tough. They basically wanted to quit until they get a couple players, right? And they start looking decent and they start beating people and they start playing together. But you start seeing that Walter Matthau starts caring. At first, he didn't care; it was just a job. He sent some money, but you start seeing that the depth of it because you start seeing him care. At first, he didn't care, so he's not even interesting. He's drinking beer, like you mentioned, but then as he starts caring, you start going, "Wow, this is great." And then you start seeing that he starts getting too much into it. Kim and I, my wife and I, were talking today about coaching. How sometimes we have to be careful because kids, even today in 2024, they're impressionable, and we got to watch what we say and so forth. But back then there were a lot of times I remember parents screaming and acting crazy. And in this film, you see some really bad parents behaviors, and even Walter Matthau at a couple times he had to stop himself. I won't spoil the film, but him having to figure out, wait a minute, I gotta, what am I doing here? Even though he didn't say it, you could just see in his face like he realized, wait a minute, these are kids. I gotta let
Well,
them all play.
you're not spoiling the film. He yells and
Yeah,
he rates the
he
player.
does. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no spoiling in that. That's part of the lore
yeah,
of Bad News Bears. Is the Mathau character is really abusive at times, where he abused Tatum. To me, one of the best scenes in the film is when he berates Tatum O'Neal.
yeah. And then you see how she reacts because she reacts real. She plays an 11-year-old, but her attitude is like a 16-year-old, right? But she definitely feels it, and she feels that this guy is not. Does he really care about her? And so these are real emotions. These are real things that kids feel, and you really see how adults definitely affect the kids, and how even the kids affect the adults because they're all learning lessons how to behave, and baseball is so great because you get to a place where you go, you know what, you play between those two lines, and yes, it's a ball game, but you're also learning how to play with people. You see them at times hogging the ball, the Cali character. You see these things happening, and so you go, wow, these are things to learn how to play the ball, how to play correctly. And so that was fun. I really enjoyed it. I didn't say yet if I give my thumbs up or my approval, but yeah, I definitely did, and I enjoyed it. I was just laughing, Ruben, when I watched it. It was like it was a late evening, maybe about a week ago, and I was just chuckling. And I think it would still work today because I think it's harmless. Even though I think you're right, some of the things uh, people don't do anymore: drink beer in front of kids or swear in front of kids and things
I
like that.
disagree. I disagree with you. This would not
Do
work
you?
today. This
Oh
would
man.
this could not only could this not
Hmm.
be made today because of the incredibly uh, politically incorrect jokes,
Yeah.
but also even the unpolitically correct, even the moments where you have Buttermaker abusing people and the other coach abusing people. I I don't think people today are ready. They couldn't make it, and I'm not even sure if they could even receive it. Like we watch it today because we think, oh, it's a relic of the past. But when I watched this recently, I thought, I don't think people could accept this,
Well, they
even
did
to
do a
make it
remake,
or
but I
even
haven't
receive
seen
it.
it, so I can't really. I mean, I'm not sure
No,
what
the
the remake
remake
is.
isn't like this. The
Is it
remake,
not? Okay, I haven't seen it, so
the remake isn't like this, and
okay.
the remake is even old. The remake is like, isn't the remake like 20 years old? But this
Yeah,
is
I
a
think you're right.
different. Yeah, I don't think they could make this today.
Okay.
And what's interesting is even people watching this might be thrown by it because he's drinking in the dugout.
Yeah, it's nuts. And
They're,
it gives
they're
them beers. At a point, I'm not gonna say it gives them all. You remember that they all.
and he gives them, yeah. So
So yeah, you make a good point. I just felt like some of the jokes landed pretty well, and I was entertained. I guess I was thinking I was entertained. So I mean, if you're gonna watch this, I believe anybody above 40 is gonna enjoy it still. Maybe even below. But maybe you're right. The type of behavior wouldn't be acceptable maybe in the United States in 2024. So
yeah, and I wish it weren't the case, but I really liked it. I want to talk briefly about Buttermaker,
mhm.
the Walter Matthau character, as a coach. We talked about him serving alcohol to his players, not good. We talk about him throwing a beer can at Amanda Werlitz. I think her name was Amanda Wurlitzer. Tatum O'Neal, not good. But he doesn't give up on the Bears. He raises the standard and he knows his players. He knows their strengths and their weaknesses. So, we're a teaching channel, so we want to look at things like this. We want to pay attention to what he does well. It's a comedy, so obviously, don't drink in the dugout, don't drink in the classroom. But
But would you say one of the best things for him is that he doesn't talk down to them? He I mean, obviously they're children, but he gives them that respect. He listens to them and he talks to them. I felt like that was a really good aspect of what he did as a coach. Sometimes coaches would just kind of dismiss you, but I felt like
yeah,
he listened, so I really appreciate that.
you're right. He respected them enough to listen and to talk to them. And I like that he's hard on Callie to an extent. Now, Callie Leak is the great player on the team that they recruited. It's a really funny bit with him and Tatum O'Neal where, they play air hockey, and if she loses, he goes on a date with her. If she wins, he has to join the team. But uh, what's interesting about their relationship, Buttermaker and Callie Leak, is that he's hard on Callie at times too hard, but your best student or player needs a different set of strategies than, I hate to put it like this, your worst student or your
Yeah.
worst player. He needs something different, or she needs something different. And I think it's very critical that you apply that principle in your classroom. Does that make sense?
It does. I think that's smart though. I mean, I don't think, and Ruben, back then there were some good coaches and there were some poor ones, and I think the good ones did exactly what Buttermaker did, where he understood their strength. The kids, he really got to know them. Now, at first, he wasn't that way. To be fair, he wasn't interested, but once he got interested, you could see that he was going to put some time, and he even has these kids come clean a pool with him, and he brings them along. A lot of times back then, kids just were just to see. Kids just got in the way, but he actually brought them with him. And I think you and I remember times when maybe our uncles would spend time with us. That's a big deal. That's a big deal to kids when you spend time with them like that. And so when he did that, and he spoke, and even spent time with Kelly and talking to him, I think that showed a good coach. And not all of them were good coaches like that.
What I mean though is that he spent time with all of them because he
He
was
did.
their coach. What I mean is that he didn't treat them all the same. And I feel like
Yeah.
today we might think that's a strength to treat everybody the same in a classroom, but I am actually pushing back on that. I'm actually saying you shouldn't do that. You should look at your students or your team and find what works for certain kids based on their strengths and needs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's
So it's
true.
not just spending time with them. It's what works for them, and give them what they need, because they might be at another level. The Cali League was at another level.
Oh yeah.
I say that, but at one point he berated Cali League. So don't look at that part. I don't think that's good.
But besides that piece, he definitely was. He definitely talked to him differently. Yeah, I mean, I was when you were sharing that, Ruben, I was thinking about a student this week where this kid was just not wanting to cooperate, and I said, how do I reach this kid? So I just listened to him, and I said, okay, let's try it this way, you know. And then he said, okay, well, I'll do that. And I thought, wow, I could have definitely went wrong if I said, hey, you do exactly what everyone else is doing. Okay, it had to do with the phones. He didn't want to cooperate, but then we found a way where he could cooperate. But instead of me like just drilling him or saying, no, you can't do it this, everyone else is doing it this way. I realized, you know what, I can't, why am I doing that? It doesn't make sense if he's willing to cooperate in a different way, you know? So it's just like you shared, I think every kid is different. You have to kind of find where they're at. Go ahead.
Every kid is different, but the top kid, what do you do with the top kid? Do you treat them like the middle kid and the lower kid? I think that's really interesting, and I'm still working that out too.
Yeah.
Don't forget about that kid too, because they're ready for the next challenge, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think it's all about I mean, going back to differentiating instruction, I think as long as you're spending time with kids, I think kids figure out that, wait, everyone's at a different pace, and they see that with other teachers, the ones who are productive, and the ones who are good educators are going to work with kids, differently, because you and I know when you get a class, they're not all at the same level. They're not.
No, of course.
Yeah.
But
so
back to your comment about phones.
Yeah.
I thought you put the pockets up.
I did. And they all cooperate, except this year, one kid didn't. And
Gotcha.
so I said, whoa, what am I going to do here? And I just had to think about it. I talked to him and we said, well, why don't we just put it away? And I said, well, okay. And then and then, we had a longer discussion, and he agreed never to have it out. And I said, okay, next semester, it's going to be a little more difficult because it's going to be more of a school thing, not so much just my classroom, but the whole school is going to do exactly what I'm doing. Yeah.
Guess who has a pocket?
Do you have it?
Yes.
Oh, we have to have that for another discussion. That is interesting. I like to know how that's going.
It's not even a discussion in my class.
Kids just do it, right?
Well, yeah. Let's talk about it another
We'll talk
day.
about it another time.
Bad News Bears, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.